This match is going to determine which of these players will join Marco Silva in the finals of LAIC 2025. For Victor, we are going to see this Dragonite and Golden Go, and for ASHTON, it's going to be the Sneasler and Golden Go. So much offense.
So there are two Golden Goes out of the field. One is the Choice Scarf variant, of course. It is going to be immune to that Fake Out coming out from the Sneasler. The question here is, do we see some Terras, right? Choice Scarf Golden Go is scary with, of course, that Shadow Ball. One of my questions is, does it get the knockout? Fake Out here, really, really safe to opt for onto the Dragonite, right? The Dragonite here likely will want to protect to conserve its multi-scale, and so you could also switch it out right now. So from Victor's end, the question is, what do you do with the Golden Go this turn? I think Dragonite going for Protect is relatively safe, and there's a lot of decisions from both sides. Do we expect a Terra? Do we Shadow Ball? Do we go for Make It Rain instead? You could also go for a Hard Read and not Fake Out, but I think Fake Out Shadow Ball here is the safest option.
Well, Dragonite does go for the Protect, so the Fake Out not going to be able to hit its target on this turn, but as we see this Golden Go ramp up for an attack, Victor gets a chance to fire off some pretty big offense with this Golden Go. It's going to be the Shadow Ball into ASHTON's, and that's going to be doing a ton of damage. In fact, it just gets a one-hit knockout right out the gates.
That was one of my big questions. I really thought ASHTON's Golden Go would be able to potentially survive that. It's not a boosted Shadow Ball, right? There is no Life Orb, there's no Choice Specs, but this is Choice Scarf Golden Go, so you wouldn't be surprised to see it running just max special attack investment and just gets a crucial knockout there. Golden Go was the main resistance to the scale shot in this game, and so ASHTON is really starting this game from behind. You can bring out Rillaboom. Yes, that gives you a little bit of Fake Out support, but where do you go from here is the question. Dragonite putting on so much pressure. It's going to be Como brought out instead, but huge lead for Victor there. No Terra from ASHTON. He gets punished, and I wonder if there's the chance of survival there, and that was like a higher damage roll, for example, but either way, huge lead for Victor.
Really big lead for him, but now you get ASHTON this opportunity to go for the Como setup. But it's going to be slow going here. You have the opportunity to go for something like the Clanging Scales. Would be nice to be able to get that damage down into the Dragonite. But I think if you're ASHTON, you're trying to figure out, do I target the Dragonite? Do I target the Golden Go? Do I actually have time to get this set up with the Como? Oh,
you can see the hover, Clanger Soul, and going for that Dire Claw to Dragonite. Dire Claw, of course, a move that can induce so much variance. If you get a Sleeper or Paralysis here, Como might really be able to get going in this game. So let's see.
Well, the Terra Fire was very impactful in the sets we've seen from ASHTON previously. It would be very nice to be able to give this Como a little bit more staying power, but you see a Terastallization matched by Victor, and so it really could be either of these Pokemon, but it's going to be the Dragonite that gets that Fairy Terra.
Yeah, slower than the Como here, crucially being able to pressure, of course, with that Scale Shot. We know that there's no Dragon-type damage going into that slot. Shadow Ball just comes out, but we saw the Dire Claw, and you know what deals super effective damage into Fairy?
It's going to be that Poison-type damage. Shadow Ball does give a little bit of a special defense drop, but the Dragonite does have to take that. Is there a status condition? There is not. Como goes for the Clanger Soul, but could you imagine if the Sneasler did Sneasler things?
Yeah, my question, though, is do you survive this turn? You get the defense boost, of course, but you also lose a good bit of your HP. Shadow Ball already went into that slot as well, so the answer, I think, is going to be likely not.
Yeah, I mean...
But the Scale Shot go into that slot. Oh, it's going to be Tailwind instead. Okay.
So Como does survive. The Tailwind, a little bit of a saving grace here for ASHTON's Como, but now the Golden Go really does have even more speed. If anything gets knocked out, then Victor gets a free switch to be able to utilize those Tailwind turns.
I don't see how you deal with Golden Go at this point, to be honest. It's just pressuring with Shadow Ball. Dragonite has the Scale Shot pressure as well. I think ASHTON just started off the game a turn behind, and then this is one of my favorite texts about Dragonite. Coming into this tournament, I was saying, you know, Tailwind I think is a really, really good move on it, dropping extreme speed, but giving that speed control. Now you've got Scarf Golden Go with Tailwind, pressuring with Shadow Ball. So Como just forced to protect, but you can just go for the Scale Shot now into the Sneasler.
That will surely knock it out. It's got to be multiple hits, but you can even see from prior damage that we've seen on the stream, if 4 might be able to do the job. It actually looks like it might be a little bit close here, and it is going to be enough with just 4. Sneasler getting knocked out, but it did look a little bit interesting after those first 2 hits.
But now the thing is, okay, the last Pokemon is Rillaboom. Rillaboom can't Fake on a Golden Go. Like, Scarf Golden Go has been insane in this game. Shadow Ball, knockout Golden Go, Shadow Ball into Como, Shadow Ball, Shadow Ball, Shadow Ball. Like, I think the Dragonite Golden Go lead has been very, very effective from Victor. Sinistcha, a Pokemon that we were talking about, but doesn't really even end up needing to bring it. I think ASHTON, I can't see him really winning this game with the Tailwind and the Choice Scarf pressure from the opposing side. Maybe you could go for the double protect exactly and try to get a critical hit or two, but I think at this point he's probably already thinking about his game plan going into game number 2.
Yeah, Fake Out brings the Dragonite a little bit lower, and maybe you're able to crit with the Grassy Glide to be able to knock it out, but you still have to deal with these Tailwind turns. You're still dealing with this Choice Scarf Golden Go, which is going to be faster than the entirety of your team, and Como is going to fail that double protect, leaving it vulnerable. It looks like it's just going to be, wow, even critting the Fake Out, actually. We didn't think about that one as a good potential way to actually KO this Dragonite, but the Shadow Ball is going to be it for this Como, and Victor wins this game 1.
I've never seen such a good argument for Choice Scarf Golden Go. It was incredible in this one, right? Being able to no let you outpace the opposing Golden Go. One of the best things about Golden Go is being immune to the attacks from Sneasler as well. Fake Out, Close Combat, Dire Claw. Like, good luck having fun with any of those against me, right? And so turn 1 already really set the pace of this battle, because ASHTON, the first question is your Golden Go, are you expecting to survive that most of the time and you just got a really unfavorable roll? Because if so, maybe you could run it back and just not even bother terroring. This is Fairy Terra Golden Go though, so one thing you have to be careful about is if you go for that Fairy Terra and Victor predicts you and just goes for Make It Rain, for example, then it's really, really bad. But at Golden Go Terra from ASHTON, then he would have been able to survive the turn and then knock out the Golden Go in response with that Shadow Ball. But just a really positive trade on turn 1, and the Sneasler just not able to do very much, was fishing for that status condition. Como gets set up, but with Tailwind just unable to do anything.
I wonder if you do get a status condition, if that gives ASHTON at least a couple of extra turns to maybe get some setup with the Como, do a little bit more work with it. But it just felt like already so difficult to be behind the 8 ball. And then you see the Sinistcha come in.
Yeah.
So even if you were going to be able to deal some damage to the Golden Go, you're going to heal that back up with Hospitality. And it's just so difficult. At least Victor gets a chance to reveal that Sinistcha was brought into this match.
So the question is, how do you handle Dragonite Golden Gold lead? And Victor obviously could adjust as well. He doesn't need to go with the exact same lead, but it felt really dominant. So if ASHTON wants to run it back with the same Pokemon, of course, he could go for Terra turn 1 with the Golden Go. Machagacha coming out, getting some estimates on the damage as well. But Rillaboom not going to be able to pull this one off. ASHTON just taking the time to come up with this game plan. This is like what we saw in top 8, right? Against Alex Gomez, he really lost pretty quickly, I would say, in game 1, but found these really unique game plans in game 2, in game 3, switching up the Pokemon each time to pull out the victory. Grassy Glide doesn't knock out Golden Go either.
And if there wasn't any grassy terrain recovery, though, that Golden Go would have actually been KO'd. So maybe a little bit of important information there for ASHTON. High horsepower was going to do about 80–90% to that Golden Go, not quite enough to be able to knock it out. But even after the grassy terrain recovery, that Grassy Glide not going to pick up the KO either. So ASHTON does have to go back to the drawing board. That was a commanding game win by Victor Medina.
Absolutely. I think Dragonite plus Golden Go is just so oppressive, and this is part of what makes Victor's team so strong, right? You have so many options. You could lead Pelipper, Archaladon, for example, Dragonite, Ursaluna, Dragonite, Archaladon, switch in Pelipper. Or the Golden Go here is Flying Terror. You could even technically lead that with like the Ursaluna, although I think that not as common because normally the Ursaluna wants some speed control for it, whether it be the Tailwind or the Trick Room. But the Tailwind from the Dragonite absolutely huge here in order to just make sure Golden Go can just outpace everything, even with the speed boost here from the Como on the opposing side. And so a really cool tech, and I am so curious about the Shadow Ball damage comp with that Scarf Golden Go into Specs Golden Go on the opposing side.
If that's a damage roll, then yeah, maybe ASHTON is like, okay, maybe that was really, really unfavorable, maybe like a 2%. I can run it back. But I, in his position, knowing what is on the line, would be pretty averse to trying to play the cards on that again.
Yeah, it's like you could run it back with the same leads, but even then it's scary, right? Because like if you go for the Terra and you get it wrong, you eat up a Make It Rain, and it's like Sneasler led again, I think you just get absolutely crushed. And so I think Sneasler coming out just was not able to do anything, right? Like you had that Fake Out, but then where do you go from there? You can't touch the Golden Go at all. And so if you're expecting Golden Go to come out again from the lead, I think like ideally you want to first see what move it locks itself into. I think like something like Dondozo's is really interesting because it's bulky. You can put on pressure with Yawn into the Dragonite, you can Wave Crash, or even put on the pressure with Fisher, for example, into the Golden Go. But yeah, I think Sneasler Lee just ends up being really ineffective into a Scale Shot Dragonite and a Golden Go. So it's still a Pokemon you could bring. I think like the upside of Sneasler is pressuring Archaludon and also still being able to deal damage with that Dire Claw. But you can see how clutch multi-scale was in that last one.
I like the opportunity of bringing the Dondozo in the front, though. I think just on top of the things that you mentioned, I think just being able to slow the game down at all is very beneficial. You talk about the offensive pressure, use the Yawns, actually slow the pace of the game down, and maybe you're able to get a little bit more damage in with a Como, with your own Golden Go or something like that.
Exactly, but you know, if you do bring that Dondozo, you are vulnerable to Archaludon. We didn't see that in game one, but and Archaludon in the rain is really scary. Now, Dondozo is flying Terra, so there's no defensive Terra for it. You can keep going for the Electro Shot, but Victor says, you know what, my lead was so strong game one, I'm just going to stick to it, but here's a huge adjustment from ASHTON.
It is going to be the Dondozo in the lead, and maybe ASHTON even a bit more comfortable because Victor did reveal that Sinistcha was the third Pokemon. Would you actually bring Archaludon into the game by itself without the Pelipper?
It's a really good point, exactly, and I would say no, right? Because it just feels like it can't do enough. Like Ursaluna is the fourth, I think makes more sense here. So I like the Dondozo adjustment a lot. You are still vulnerable to Scale Shot. No Fake Out on the Dragonite. Dragonite doesn't protect either.
The Shadow Ball into the Rillaboom. You can see that Azelf is helping out a lot, but the Scale Shot is still free and clear to fire off into this Rillaboom. It looks like 5 would absolutely be able to do enough for the knockout.
4, does it get 5? It does!
That Rillaboom is down for the count, and Victor is going to be up a Pokemon already in this game number 2.
Huge call out there. Says the Fake Out on a Dragonite, so obvious. You're not going to let me just break your multi-scale, but does not go for it. Gets the double up. It just eliminates Rillaboom immediately. So yes, Dondozo gets the Yawn, but that is a huge piece out of the way immediately. And with Dondozo, you really don't want to fall behind in terms of Pokemon. Rillaboom now, not the most important Pokemon in terms of damage output. Dragonite probably feels pressure to switch out. And so once again, though, Victor just getting an immediate turn 1 lead, and great call out saying, I don't think you're going to click Fake Out onto me this time.
The Yawn onto the Dragonite at least puts Victor into a position where maybe you are going to force him to have to take this Dragonite out. Otherwise, it's going to fall asleep at the end of this turn, and maybe Dondozo gets the room to just hit a fissure, just simply hit the fissure into the Golden Go, remove it from the field completely.
So you can Yawn the Dragonite slot again, as ASHTON is indicating he might do, to cover for a switch out. But now your Golden Go needs to deal the damage, right? It's the same decision. Do you go for the Terra with Golden Go once again? Because if not, yeah, Victor can just stay in and go for Shadow Ball until you might just faint again. And so, but if you bait out the Fairy Terra right now from Golden Go can switch out, come back in, and then go for Make It Rain. So let's see. Yeah, there's the Fairy Terra this time around. Does Victor switch out? He's not going to. He's going to stay in with both Pokemon here.
So no switch. The Terra committed onto this Golden Go. ASHTON needs to make sure that this Fairy Terra is going to pay off. And we don't even see the Terastallization come out from Victor's Pokemon either. So let's see the Shadow Ball damage. This Golden Go should survive this hit. It's going to take that pretty comfortably as Dragonite sets up the Tailwind.
This is one of the most interesting things in a position with Yawn, right? You know that the Dragonite just got hit by Yawn, so Golden Go does fade from the opposing side, but first of all, Shadow Ball doing a ton of damage to Golden Go. Like, I'm thinking, might not even be a roll, it just might be like no investment here on Golden Go. But another Yawn comes out. Dragonite now will fall asleep, but Tailwind has been set up. Victor gets a free switch in, and he knows that the Golden Go is locked into the Choice Spec Shadow Ball. So if Ursaluna is your fourth Pokemon, this could be the opportunity to bring it. And if it actually is Archaludon, not a bad time for it either, but I would just be really shocked to see it in the back here.
A knockout of the Golden Go is kind of like a double-edged sword here for ASHTON, I feel like. You definitely wanted to remove it, but it is the Ursaluna that's going to be the next Pokemon revealed for Victor. There's still Terra available for Victor here for that Ursaluna.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Like, I think ASHTON, you of course pressure with super effective damage with this Wave Crash. Dragonite is on a timer essentially right now because once it wakes up, this Scale Shot is really scary. Like, Scale Shot will just demolish the Sneasler that's waiting in the back, right? So ASHTON right now can't Shadow Ball into the Ursaluna, of course, by it being normal typing. You could go for the Wave Crash onto it. If it Terras, then of course you can take advantage of it. But I think here, if you're Victor, you're actually probably content just letting the Wave Crash go into that slot. I do think, like, ASHTON does claw things back a little bit, right? Like, yes, Tailwind has been set up, but Dondozo is still so beefy, it's going to be tough to deal with, and we're going to see the Sneasler switch in. So I'm really paying attention. Does Dragonite manage to get a one-turn wake up? It has to take a turn of sleep this turn, but next turn could be huge.
I also to wonder if Victor is content with just attacking with this Ursaluna. Maybe you say the Terra would be enough for this Ursaluna to be able to survive something like the Wave Crash, and you're going to switch out your Golden Go, so I'm not going to worry about taking that super effective Shadow Ball damage. We do see the Terra committed, so this Ursaluna is now a Ghost type. This Dragonite does not get a chance to wake up, and we see the Headlong Rush go into the Sneasler. Focus Sash, the perfect item for the Sneasler to have in order to take that hit, but now it is on its last little bit of HP.
This is where, once again, the Tailwind comes out huge, right? With that Tailwind, Victor probably confident on being able to outspeed that Golden Go, so now can go for that. Ooh, okay, I was
critical
gonna say,
hit.
Does take a lot of damage. You can go for that Terra, and of course, it prevents the Wave Crash from dealing super effective damage. The scary thing about Ghost Herring is obviously the Golden Go can hit you for super effective damage, but we're gonna get some recovery across the board, and Victor will have to handle the Dondozo, but he probably has that Sinistra in the back, right? So what he's thinking is, okay, let me just knock out the Sneasler right now. Flame Orb does activate. The Ursaluna is in a really good spot. You are immune to the fake out. You're immune to the close combat from the opposing side. So if you're ASHTON, the question is, what do you do right now? It might be something like a Protect with the Sneasler and then try to Wave Crash into the Ursaluna. But oh, he's actually contemplating Protect on Dozo. Okay, just a double Protect here to try to stall out Tailwind.
The Tailwind turns have been really critical here for Victor. Already the Ursaluna being able to take full advantage of that. But you still have to figure out how to deal with that. You want to get your Golden Go in pretty scot-free. You've dealt with the Choice Scarf, but you still have the speed control for Victor right now.
Keep in mind, like, if Sinistra is the final Pokemon, it's going to be really difficult to deal with the Golden Go. But here's the switch, and we saw the double Protect, and so Sinistra comes in and is going to be able to get some recovery, and that's absolutely huge. I was going to say, if Ursaluna goes down, Golden Go probably just wins this game. And so Victor recognizes that, says, you know what, I'm just going to heal it up right now. This healing is really valuable because it means that you probably don't even KO me with the double up, and the double Protect is, okay, it's going to be a Protect all around just to guarantee that recovery. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the opportunity to cycle the hospitalities as well. Yes, that Dragonite is asleep, but it's still a Pokemon, so you could get that Dragonite back in, make sure that that Sinistra has an opportunity to reactivate that hospitality, and this Ursaluna is looking in an even better spot. You still have a turn of Tailwinds to take advantage of, and so ASHTON has to play around that.
Yeah, Sneasler, of course, right now is very speedy, and so, oh, we see, okay, we're going for it. The hope is to just get the Dire Claw off and prevent Sinistra from attacking. Right now, we can see Matcha Gotcha Facade. That might just be able to get a double knockout, so does the Dire Claw get a status condition right now onto Sinistra?
The Sinistra is going to take the attack. It goes to sleep, so it is not going to be able to move on this next turn. As the Facade finishes off this Sneasler, what if this Dondozo is able to get the KO here and now? ASHTON is down to his final two Pokemon. He has an opportunity here to hit the Fissure, and it is not going to connect, but at least the Sinistra is asleep for this next turn as the Tailwind expires.
Now, you do get Golden Go out, right? This is a Choice Specs Golden Go, so I think Golden Go could still pull it off there. Victor in the end actually ended up targeting off the Sneasler rather than the Dondozo, right? So I was thinking maybe you just try to go for the double knockout. The sleep would have prevented it. I think Victor was probably thinking your win con here is to try to get a status condition on a Sinistra, so I really want to eliminate the Sneasler. But hey, I mean, we do get Specs Golden Go out now, pressuring with that Make It Rain.
The Make It Rain would be pretty big, but you need to see the double up here. You're still going to see ASHTON try to YOLO some of these attacks, but the Golden Go with the Shadow Ball is going to be able to hit the Ursaluna and the Sinistra for super effective damage, but you still have to deal with that Dragonite later on, which would be immune to this Fissure.
Okay, you can see there's the contemplation to go for Shadow Ball instead. Oh, okay, so he's saying, you know what? You can't hit me with Dragonite, so if Sinistra stays asleep right now, you cannot Rage Powder, but if Sinistra wakes up, it gets Rage Powder off, and then I think Victor probably wins this game. So the question here is, does the Sinistra wake up? And if it does it go for Rage Powder? It's going to be a switch, so it could be switch and protect, which I think is pretty safe here.
Gotta play it safe because there are certainly some outs that ASHTON can take to win this game and tie it up as Dragonite comes back in. Still also pretty sleepy, but don't worry, it might be able to wake up at the end of this next turn.
Okay, Shadow Ball comes out, so locking into the Shadow Ball rather than Make It Rain, recognizing, look, Dragonite is pretty bulky. I don't want to keep just dropping my special attack, and I just want to get consistent damage. And also, ASHTON was basically saying, look, if you decide to stay in here and go for Rage Powder and you don't wake up, I can just win the game on the spot. So willing to commit to that. Dragonite does switch in safely. It's only taken a turn of sleep so far. So now you do pressure with Shadow Ball. Ursaluna probably feels pressure to switch out, can get a knockout. You burn a turn of sleep on Dragonite. Right now, Victor is really looking to set up that Tailwind with that Dragonite so we can outpace, and there is the Ursaluna switch.
Oh, Oh man, that means that Sinister is going to have to come in its stead, and that means it has to take this Shadow Ball. So as we see that fire off from the Golden Go, Sinister is not going to be able to give any more of that green tea healing over to that Dragonite or this Ursaluna in this game. Victor is down to just that Ursaluna left in the back, but Dragonite does wake up. So that's a big deal to set up this Tailwind, and now you've got the Ursaluna in the perfect conditions.
I think that's just likely going to be the game because the Dragonite really struggles against or Dondozo struggles against Dragonite. Now, Multiscale obviously even further reduced that damage, but you're just not doing much. You can't Fissure into it. Now you get the free switch in back out into Ursaluna. Ursaluna will be faster than both the Dondozo and the Golden Go. It can very cleanly just go for Earthquake. So you bring Ursaluna, you Earthquake and Scale Shot. Victor basically was saying, look, even if I don't wake up here, I can bring out Ursaluna and protect for another turn. And so ASHTON was basically hoping for multiple turns of sleep. But yeah, I think this should now just be Victor winning.
He's going to split the difference, though, because ASHTON still has maybe an opportunity to attack with one of these Pokemon. You have to attack with the Golden Go because of the Choice Specs. It is going to be locked into that Shadow Ball. But just what if, Aaron? What if there's an opportunity here for this Dondozo to actually connect and attack? We see the Scale Shot from this Dragonite to help chunk away at this Dondozo's HP, and it is going to be at least 4 hits.
Yeah, I think the game is just over, though, because regardless, even if Skill Shots miss, like the Ursaluna always knocks out Golden Go, and Dondozo just cannot win the 1v2. You have the defense drop, sure, but in the long run, like the Dragonite's just going to beat the Dondozo. It's going to be Facade here. Victor says, you know what, I don't want to take any chances. I have Earthquake, but I just want to make sure I knock out the Golden Go here, and Golden Go is now eliminated. So Dondozo will get an attack off here, but it's just not going to be enough.
If it hit the fissure, it is at least for the drama, but it does not. And Victor now in the 2v1 is going to move on to the finals tomorrow. He is just one Pokemon KO away from being able to have that chance and have that dream.
It definitely would have been exciting to see Fissure hit. I still think Dragonite just wins that in the long run because you can haze to get rid of the defense boost, and Scale Shot just continuously adds up more, and Wave Crash doesn't do enough. But maybe there was a world where it could have pulled it up and Fissure hit, but no Fissure connects despite the sleep on the Sinistra. Victor pulls it off.
Victor is now going to get the opportunity to face down Marco Silva in the finals of the 2025 Latin America International Championships. He